Hello, and welcome once again to Review Into the Unknown. I am a person who does not have the energy to come up with a personal handle for this or put any money into production values. I'm sorry, maybe one day, but in the meantime, I'm hoping you'll appreciate this as just a little bit of a chat, a book chat. It's like a book club where only I read the book, so I'm the only one that could say anything about it while everyone else nods along and like, oh yeah, totally, yeah, I agree with you on that point. Same thing as if you were in a high school literature class and once again half the people just read it on SparkNotes and you are desperately trying to come up with symbolism for the left shoe that was on the ground on page 102. So you can just follow my lead, pretend like you read the book, or just enjoy my insights on it. Now, as far as the book we have today, it is Being of Two Minds. Oh, this is very illuminated, so it's a little harder to see. I need better lighting. Being of Two Minds by Pamela F. Service. So, this book, when was it published again? Oh, this is an old library copy. I didn't steal it. They clearly got rid of it at some point. And yeah, this book is not easy to find anymore. It's not like it was super rare. No, just you can't get it as an ebook. And when I went to purchase it, there were 4 copies available. 4. I'm sure most of them are just like this, old library editions that got tossed out. And so this book is dying because soon there won't be many more copies left. The copies that will exist will slowly deteriorate, get lost, get sold for pennies, and then get left out somewhere, and there's not new copies being made, and it doesn't have an ebook version. So this is a dying book, which is quite a shame. It's not even that old. Let's see. Don't you just love it? I did all my research ahead of time. You know, while I look for this, I remember the first time I read this book, because this wasn't a random choice. I remember, copyright 1991. There we go. So this is a 90s book. But I remember the first time I read this book. I remember like my father's apartment. I remember the small little windy staircase that was in it. And I remember having this book and reading it on the stairs of his apartment. I don't remember if I got it from a library. I don't remember if it was just a book that someone had given me. I don't know if I'd bought it somewhere. I don't know. But I remember just hunched on those stairs, reading it in basically one sitting. Because as you could see, it's not a very long book. Oh, here you go. Spoilers for the entire book. Wasn't that great? But I was a voracious reader as a kid. I was avoiding real life, so I read a lot. I know, mood, right? But I remember I read this book in one sitting, and I just loved it. And it has a lot in it that I don't see very often. You know, things that aren't really subversions of tropes. It's not playing to the stereotype that we would expect. And I'll explain as we go. So, spoilers for the entire book. The book does make mention of kids in medical rooms because they have medical problems. Not really experimentation on kids, but you know, they're definitely trying to experiment to figure out what's going on with these kids. So, trigger warning, medicals. Kids in danger, mentions of firearms. Someone gets hit by a car at one point, but honestly, it is very, very, very PG. Not very gory, not very bloody. Even in its very tensest moments, it's like Disney. It's like a Disney Channel, like one of those original movies, like Johnny Tsunami. While there can be some violence and stuff in those movies, it's really tame. So, unless you have a very particular trigger that you just cannot deal with, I think that you would be fine reading this. I mean, I'm sure the age group is, fairly low. 8 to 16 on the high end, and I feel like that's 16 is pushing it a little bit. Yeah, this is definitely YA. All right, so let's jump into the plot of the book. So there are two main characters, but one's a little bit higher billing. Connie is an American girl. She lives an average American life, except she gets seizures. Some of them are so bad that she just completely locks out and passes out for hours. When she comes to, she seems perfectly fine. But then she'll also have these tiny, more minor seizures where she's just going, okay, I'm fine. So she has bigger seizures and smaller seizures, all of which seem to not affect her in the day-to-day life, but she has no control over them. And of course, if she has one of her big seizures and she passes out, that would make things like driving difficult. Granted, she's only 14 now, but it sounds like things are ramping up to really figure out what's causing her seizures. Because if they don't find it out now, she's going to have to miss out on a lot of stuff in life. As it is, they're worried about her missing school because every time she has a seizure, she has to, she's going to be out for hours. What is this going to do to any kind of job? What if she, then makes it impossible to drive a car if you just can't control the fact that you're going to pass out? And even while she gets a little bit of warning that these are coming on, they still can't find the root cause of it. So until they can find the root cause, she's kind of out of luck. Across the world, in a fictional European country, because this was the age of fictional European countries. We had so many fake countries. Princess Diaries is probably the most well-known for it. I'm blanking on that country. Genovia. This one is Bulgaria. Seems to be vaguely Germanic influences. They speak German in it. They specify they are a German-speaking country. But across the ocean in Bulgaria, the Crown Prince Rudolph, Rudy to friends and family, he has the exact same problem. He has these big seizures and these more minor seizures. The thing is, Connie and Rudolph know what these seizures are. Whenever they have a big seizure, their mind travels to the body of the other one, and whenever they get a more minor seizure, that's the other person slipping into their mind. So Connie and Rudolph have been in each other's minds since they were babies. They have always known each other. They've always known each other's families. Rudolph speaks English like a native, and Connie speaks German like a native, because in a way they are. They are a being of two minds. Because these seizures are common enough. Like the big ones, they say they vary, but let's say once a week, Connie goes into Rudolph's mind, and then the next week, Rudolph goes into Connie's mind. So they have always lived their lives together. And when they were really, really young, they're like, oh yeah, Rudolph, my other person that I inhabit the body of every so often. Of course, everyone's like, kids these days with their imaginary friends. And so once they were old enough to realize this was weird, they stopped talking about it. Now, fortunately, they live in the age of, it was like the 90s, so I don't think they quite had the same internet that, you're thinking of. They definitely didn't have YouTube, but they still had the radio, they still had newspapers and prints and movies. So Connie could right off the bat be like, Bulgaria, that's a real country. Bulgaria, and there is a royal family. Oh yeah, those are the people I keep spending time with. And while Rudolph can't, without looking suspicious, super look into Connie's life, he could be like, yeah, based on everything I know, this is a proper Midwest town in America. So it makes sense that this person exists. And the key is, while they're in each other's minds, they can't hear each other's thoughts. They can see and hear what the person can see, but they can't enter each other's thoughts, but they can have sort of long distance conversations with each other. So you're alone in your room, you're talking out loud, the person hears you, a week later you get your response. So very inconvenient, but at the same time, it sort of allows them to understand that the other person is real and that, the experience is mutual. They do know each other. And I appreciate something that it mentions often in this book, that they are comfortable in each other's bodies, despite the fact that one is born a girl, the other one is born a boy. They don't have embarrassment. Like in one scene, Rudolph is changing clothes, and he's like, I'm not really worried about it. I mean, Connie's been in my body so many times. Like, neither of us are embarrassed about this. We are essentially the same person in many ways. We are and we aren't. So we are comfortable being each other. So, hey, I finally found something to read for Pride Month. I guess this is a interesting take on being non-binary, because both characters sort of do have two bodies they inhabit, and they are comfortable in both, at least to a degree. While they can't control the body they're visiting in, they don't feel voyeuristic or ashamed to be in that body, because that is their other person, their other half. Now, I know this was just a lot of setup, but really the plot doesn't really set off until about, almost halfway through. The first half is kind of just the setup of them talking about, should we at some point tell people about what's going on, because our families are worried about us. They're afraid that we won't be able to live our lives fully. In the case of Rudolph, he is a crown prince of an entire country. What does that look like when your crown prince has some sort of major medical issue that the royal family's been kind of keeping hush-hush, because once again, they're trying to cure it. So do we tell the people that this is going on? Because otherwise he is a very healthy kid. It's just, he has a seizure disorder. What if this happens when he's in the middle of a very high, tense political movement? Especially since times are changing and there are changing minds of what Bulgaria should be as a country. Because it's a tiny country. And their whole view is, we're small, we can't get involved. Very much the Switzerland of the Germanic nations, I guess. Because they don't really have the clout or the influence to weather more turbulent tides. So they focus on tourism, on their pretty views and scenery, on their cheeses. So their job is to sit around and look pretty. But new times are coming, and some people are like, hey, you really need to get more involved. And other people are like, we only survive if we stay small. So not only are they dealing with, hey, we have a crown prince, which is this profile here. I kind of like the way that this was done. It's very old school, but you got Connie's face and then Rudolph's face, sort of. It looks better when it's not reflected off of this, because the glossy library makes it harder to see. But Rudolph does have to be of two minds of, what do I do as I become king? And there's these two warring philosophies. Do I hide from the people I have these seizures? Do I ever tell anyone about Connie? What do I do? Now, as all of this is happening, there was Rudolph's family, the royal family of Bulgaria, do go on an American tour. Basically is a good political PR stunt. And Connie and Rudolph managed to meet up during that. They have to plan it like weeks in advance. As soon as the Bulgarian royal family have their like timeline down, Connie starts manipulating their family like, hey, I'm really interested in all this, and it's a royal family. It'd just be so cool even if I just got to see them once. They're coming to a nearby city. It'll be great. And so she manages to arrange her family to be nearby. Rudolph manages to like slip her a note like, hey, you gotta meet me here. Or actually, I think he just whispers in her ear, hey, meet me here after dark. And so they finally get to meet each other in person. Oh, and they just hit it off. They're like, this is the greatest thing ever. They feel like twins in a way, because they specify several times that there is nothing romantic. They do not feel romantic for each other. It feels like they're fraternal twins in a way. Except even closer in a way, because they make mention several times that these two kids are so similar in the way they think. They have this sort of same ideas, same favorites, same likes, same dislikes. It's like their thoughts are so similar that they're like, their brainwaves are on the same frequency, that they have sought each other out. That's another interesting thing about this book. They often make mention of like, well, why is this happening? Has this happened before? Yeah, it probably did happen before. Maybe some of the people speaking in tongues were just foreign languages they learned from somewhere else. Maybe some of the really weird people in history that saw visions, they were just entering someone else's mind. They even make mention of like Joan of Arc. Maybe that's where a lot of her, visions came from, was from being in someone else's mind and seeing a different perspective on things. So they even make mention of Shakespeare's quote, "There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dripped up in your philosophy." But not to say that there's magic in the world, but just there is still wonder in this world, and it doesn't have to be magic for it to be interesting and cool and strange and unknown still. So there is definitely a scientific reason behind why they can enter each other's minds, and it has probably something to do with the reason, like that they're so similar to each other, but they haven't figured out yet exactly what's going on. Anyway, back to the actual plot. After they meet each other in person, the two of them have a different type of seizure, a third seizure that they've never had before. And they both kind of go into a mid-seizure state, and then once they do, they have one eye that sees what they're seeing, the other eye is seeing what the other person's seeing. They've got split vision. And in their split vision, they can perceive both realities around them, and they quickly surmise, we wonder if it's because we're so close to each other, because we've always been so physically distant. I wonder if this is what can happen when we are like less than a mile away. But tour ends, Rudolph has to go home, Connie has to go home, everything kind of calms down a little bit. Rudolph's still really torn about what's going on. He's getting pressure from his uncle that, oh, we really should be entering into the new age. We really should be expanding and making allies. And then he's still getting advice from his teacher, Wolfie, who's like, hey, you've got to do what makes sense. You know the history of this country, and I think you really will be a great ruler, even seizures and all. And just Wolfie is a very calming, great presence in this. He's just like, I'm not a member of the royal family. I have no stake in this, but I'm your teacher, and I think you're a wonderful kid, and I think you'll be a wonderful king. Whereas everyone else in Rudolph's life is like, yeah, his parents are the king and queen. There are expectations there. His uncle is like a playboy prince. I think he's got a title of duke. So he's a playboy duke, but he is quite clearly trying to manipulate things behind the scenes politically. And he's subtly trying to discourage Rudolph from wanting to be the crown prince, because he does not feel like Rudolph is going to be strong enough as a crown prince. But Rudolph is basically just continuing to, Connie and Rudolph continue to struggle about, should we say anything, should we not, what are we going to do about this? But a few months pass, Connie is at a family reunion, she has one of her bigger seizures, and then she wakes up screaming, which was a bit of a jarring experience to everyone around her, because they're like, that's a new symptom. And she finally calms down, like, let's listen to the radio. Yeah, let's listen to the radio. So, while she had her big seizure and went into Rudolph's mind, she watched him get kidnapped. And yeah, that was kind of a jarring experience for her. And so when she woke up, she's like, oh no, the Crown Prince of Thalgaria has been kidnapped. Let's listen for the radio just to make sure that, they found him and he's safe. No mention. She watches the paper, no mention. She's like constantly trying to figure out what's going on. There's no word that he's been kidnapped, but she saw it happen. Eventually, she gets desperate, and so she encourages her parents to go on a date night and makes a long distance call. Do you guys remember like old school like home phones and having to make long distance calls? Yeah, this call will probably cost her family $50. But she calls Thalgaria, like the Thalgarian embassy, and demands to speak to Wolfie, the the Crown Prince's teacher, the one person that she feels like she could actually reach and trust in all of this. And she tells him, hey, I've got information about the kidnapping of the Crown Prince. You probably want to come speak to me. Yeah, the CIA come knocking at her door the next morning. It's just, it's great. I love this. I love it because it's funny and it's like, it just tickles me. These are the kind of things that tickle me, like, honey, why is the CIA at our door? Oh yeah, I just might have called them about the Crown Prince getting kidnapped. So she refuses to talk to CIA, and she's like, I'm going to talk to Wolfie and Wolfie only. His full name is like Wolfgang, or I'm sure it says it somewhere in here. Yeah, well, no, they just constantly call him Wolfie. I opened a page and it says Wolfie. Anyway, so she waits until the teacher arrives, and she's like, Wolfie! And he's like, random American child! Who are you? Also, how did you know the Crown Prince was kidnapped? We specifically did not publish that information anywhere. Oh, yeah, Rudy left me a message. How did he leave you a message? He was kidnapped. We need more information. And that's where everything spills out. She admits that the seizures that both of them have been having have been connected, that they are seeing through each other's minds. And she proves it by talking about a lesson that Rudolph and Wolfie had together, quoting things that Wolfie had said, and really drives home like, hey, maybe you don't believe me, but surely you can tell that something crazy enough is happening that I can do all this. So believe me or not, I'm the only one with information that can help you get him back. And she describes like what she remembers from the kidnapping. Okay, they put him in a car ride took a couple hours. The few moments that they like removed the blindfold, I could see this and this and this and this, which isn't great because it's all very like, yeah, he was in a tower. There was like a radio tower in the distance. The roofs of the village nearby had like red tiles, and it had a spiral staircase. It's like, okay, we have quite a few of those, but that at least narrows the search. Okay, so now we're looking for towers, 2-hour drive from the royal family's main castle. Okay, cool. We've narrowed the search. And they're like, okay. Mr. and Mrs. Connie's parents, this is now an international incident. Whether or not we believe this is exactly true, it seems like Connie is the one person that can get us any inside information with this. We gotta take her to Thalgaria. Which her parents just agree for. It feels like that whole Pokemon logic, like, my child, you're 12 now, sure, go out in the world and battle with Pokemon. Because, yeah, these kids are still, like, 14, 15 when all this is going on, so, yeah, it's still very young to just be like, sure, take her to Thalgaria to go save a royal prince. That's fine. Once again, very Disney Channel logic. So, to kind of wrap up the story, because the more interesting part are the interactions between these two characters. They get there. Connie is very quickly separated from Wolfie. He gets hit by a car. Not horribly, but bad enough that he does need medical attention right away. She has to hide, and she does a really good job, but, like, she is smart. She hides in plain sight. She quickly gets clothes that, like, the local teens are wearing. You know, like, they mentioned that there's a few local styles, a few bandanas and all that. And since she already speaks German with a Bulgarian accent, she could just be like, oh, hey, fellow teens. Oh, you talking about music? I can talk about music. And just, integrates herself into a friend group really quick. And they're all like, who the hell are you? But, okay, sure. And that's how she keeps avoiding getting caught by various people looking for her. And also, since she has seen some of the kidnappers, she can pick out, like, oh, yeah, that's one of the kidnappers, so everyone around him, okay, yeah, gotta avoid all of them. And I love it. She is smart enough to slowly figure out, oh, okay, it's this tower. How do I get there? Okay, I'm gonna take a bus, but then I have to figure out a reason to, like, go there, and it's really cool. She is very good at figuring things out, but she's willing to take help. She's willing to take advice. She even meets this one local family that takes her in for a night and basically teaches her how to sneak into that tower for picking berries. And they don't know that she's there to save the crown prince, but they're like, you're kind of up to no good. You know what? It's fine. We're going to teach you how to get in anyway. And as soon as she gets close to the tower, she starts having the split screen vision with Rudolph again. And through that, they're able to communicate, like, here's where you go, here's what you need to do, here's the secret entrance. Because Rudolph has been to this castle before, so he is a little bit familiar with the layout. And they're able to several times trick their way through people by being able to kind of have eyes in two places at once. I feel like this would make for a very good video game. Probably have something like this before, but like the split screen vision of I see this and I see this, so we can coordinate on both sides. But once again, it's so much fun to see the two of them together. It's very shenanigans as they try to escape. And of course, they do eventually escape. The day is saved. The uncle, of course, who was behind the scenes trying to change everything. Yeah, he, of course, was part of the kidnapping plot. Wolfie's fine. He got medical attention. And all the conspiracy was just taken down. And then they're like, hey, we're the royal family. We try to do right by our people. They do love us. We're just going to come clean about what's going on. Rudolph has a medical condition, especially now that we know more about what's going on. And we're not going to try to cure you. We understand you two do not want to be separated. We are not going to cure you. Let's just see if we could try to figure out a way so you guys are always in control of these seizures. So that you only enter each other's minds when it is okay for both of you. And they're all like, yeah, this is like, it's just a great ending. It just completely neatly wraps up everything going on. So once again, I loved this book when I read it as a kid. And you know what? I enjoyed it the second time, reading it 30 years later, I'm gonna say. Yeah, I'm just gonna age myself a little bit there. But no, I really liked it. And speaking of Disney movie, a part of me wishes this book had become more popular because I do really enjoy it. But I can already see the Disney version of this. Instead of a crown prince and an American girl, 100%, it would have been an American boy and a crown princess. They would have been 17. The seizures would have started only like right before all the political shenanigans, so they would have had a year at most to get used to each other. And of course, there would have been a romance side plot where the two end up together. This was just, that is the tropes. Those are all the tropes. That is what is expected and normal and fit into a completely perfect narrative story arc for a movie. But this is different. And it feels different. And it feels special in a way. Maybe it is just because it's two characters that are each other. They love each other. They're like twins, but they're not twins. They're two people who are comfortable in two different bodies. Maybe I'm just really attracted to the non-binary aspect of it. I don't know. Which is weird, because I don't think I'm non-binary. Maybe. I'll get back to you on that one. I'm perfectly fine with she, her pronouns. It's just there is an aspect of non-binaryism, that's not a word, that intrigues me. Just not really feeling like either, or in their case being cool as either, that is intriguing. And maybe that's always intrigued me. And once again, this is a dying book. This is a book which the copies are going to get sold out, and then it's going to be no more. Unless the publisher decides to make an ebook of it eventually. But it is a book I don't want forgotten. And so now I have my copy. I'm going to try to keep my copy. And well, I would say I hope you can get your hands on a copy for you to read it. I mean, first try your library. Maybe there'll still be some more hidden around in there. Anyway, thank you to my 5 subscribers. Thank you to all the people who watch these. Thank you to the couple of likes I've gotten. Very cool on that front. And while this is still nothing big or fancy or new or special, this is one person ranting about a book. I hope you got a little bit of enjoyment. ASMR to fall asleep to. Maybe. No, I can't keep that up. I can't keep that up. Anyway, thank you guys. See ya.